Going to go ahead and get started here for the sake of time. We've just been waiting for a moment to try to have enough members of the board here to create a quorum. We do not yet quite have a quorum, but in reviewing Robert's rules, we can proceed with a meeting and at least have the committee presentations or information presented. And then we can wait for a couple other members to join for our actions of business. My name is Carolyn Lundberg. I am filling in for the chair, Mayor Michelle Kaufusi, who is expected to join us shortly. I'd like to welcome everyone here to this board meeting today of the Utah Lake Authority, this Thursday, September 18th, 2024, here at the CUWCD headquarters here in Orem. We welcome everyone here that is present as well as those online this morning. We will first begin with item number 1, which is our call to order. And I would like to invite here on my left, those that are here on the dais to go ahead and state their name and present, please.
Good morning. Scott Daly with the Division of Water Quality, filling in for John Mackey today.
Ben Steierman with the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands.
Hillary Hungerford with UVU.
Curtis Blair, Utah Valley Chamber.
Carolyn Lundberg, Linden City.
Chris Carnes, Saratoga Springs City.
And then Amber is online.
I'm here, yes. Amber from Vineyard.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right, those are those here presenting. And then we also will have additional members join us, which will be noted when they arrive for the minutes. So at this point, we will go to item number 2, which is an allowed item since we do not yet quite have a quorum. And this would be any board member reports, if anyone has anything they would like to share. Okay, I would love to share. Okay.
Oh, Mayor Lundberg, I just wanted to let you all know that we are going to be sending out something this week with dates for our public meeting for the Utah Lake Comprehensive Management Plan, along with a survey. So we'll distribute that to Luke and he can distribute that to the board. So any of you that represent cities, we'd love your feedback from a city perspective. But also if you want to share that with your community and see if they would like to weigh in, we'd love that.
Love to put that out there for the public. Thank you for sharing that, Ben. And then I would like to share also this past week had the opportunity to take a tour with several of our legislators and some other local folks at the Timpanogos Special Services District site, which is the sewer plant that serves the sewer for several of the northern Utah County cities. Our ULA Deputy Sam Breaker was also there. We were able to tour the facilities and learn about what they're doing to improve the quality of what the water that's processed and goes out into the lake. They took us out on a boat and we were able to see some of the scientific activities that they're doing with isolating pods there. And so they're doing a lot of good work. They're planning also to have an re-engineered wetlands project out there. And then they will also connect a shoreline trail with the future Wildlife Center and Linden Trail. So it's a lot of great things happening out there. They're wanted the legislators to be aware of what they're working on to help get some funding for those projects. So it's a great day to spend time with them and learn about those things. We've had a lot of great work this past year with a lot of the sewer plants all around the lake, doing incredible upgrades or are in the process of doing tremendous upgrades. So that's all good news for our lake. All right, we will move now to item number 3. This is the public comment portion. So if there's anything here that's not currently on the agenda or something someone would like to address the board, we would invite you to do so now and keep it brief. Yes, please come forward and state your name.
I'm Gary Brimley. I just want to remark that well, I guess I should say, I do work for Central Utah Water Conservancy District. My remarks aren't necessarily on behalf of the district, but I do want to remark that the district continues bringing water into the Utah Lake from Strawberry Reservoir, and several thousand acre feet each month are being brought in from Strawberry Reservoir to Utah Lake. And I just wanted to make everybody aware that that's happening.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that information, Mr. Brimley. All right, any further public comments? All right, seeing none, we will move to we'll actually move item number 4, our consent items, to a later point, since we are still waiting for a quorum and cannot make any decisions or votes at this time. That would bring us to item number 5. This is our staff and committee reports. I'd like to invite our executive director, Mr. Luke Peterson, to begin with his report.
Morning, everybody. Thank you. Good morning. I've got a few things I want to cover this morning in my report, but the main thing I want to note is the fact that we have a lot of good things going on. I think this is true for me and for all of the staff, but we're sort of midstream on everything. We're not, I don't have like a big, hey, we got $5 million to announce this time. Sadly, we can't do that every meeting, but we are in the midst of a lot of things. And so I'm going to be giving some semi-incomplete reports on a few different things that we're working on. That's me. Okay. Before I talk about Wakara Way, I did want to just say quickly, one of those things on the list is the Nature Center, as you all know, that we're working on as our legislative priority for this upcoming year. I had to take on a task that somehow I've never done before. I thought I had done like everything that you have to do in the public sector, but I've never had to try and get something on the governor's budget before. So that was a new experience. And it took me a little bit to figure out exactly how you proceed. But then we worked with DNR and FFSL, and I just wanted to call attention to the help that we got from Ben. Thank you, Ben, for all your help and support as we worked through FFSL, Ben's help, Jamie's help, Phil's help to have the Nature Center included in the governor's budget. Again, like a lot of things, we don't know yet whether or not it will be included, but they were good enough to rank it 3rd in their in the DNR budget, and that puts it on a good track. And we will see from here. I'll let you know, of course, once we know exactly where it lands. But wanted to say thanks for that. On Wakara Way, I put the little loading bar, just again, give that sense of we got things in progress here. Wakara Way, we're making some good progress. So Susan Podziba, who we hired as our mediator, she's really a fantastic mediator. A little bit of background on her, which I can't remember if I've given before, but a very experienced natural resources mediator and conflict resolution specialist. She teaches mediation for Harvard Law School and MIT, was a mediator for the federal government in the Deepwater Horizon settlement, has done a lot of really amazing work, and we're fortunate to have her working with us. She has done sort of the initial survey of the situation. She spoke with landowners, with government officials, with other stakeholders, and collected sort of a picture of where things are with Wakara Way. What are the points of conflict? What are the potential solutions that are floating out there? What are some of the misunderstandings? Has developed that into a report. It has we have a draft of that report, and there are a few revisions yet to be made on it. But the report gives us a really great picture of basically where we're at and what we need to do in order to move forward. So starting today, in fact, right after our board meeting, we will have the first meeting of the second phase, meeting with some of the government entities involved. And then tomorrow, we'll start meeting with landowners, Keith Holdaway and others, and hopefully moving that process forward. Again, the idea is that we want to come to some sort of decision about how we're going to move forward, or if we're going to move forward with Wakara Way before the end of the year, so that we know, and as necessary, we can reallocate funds if needed, or move them in different directions for Wakara Way. But we're making progress there, and that's great to see after it being in limbo for so long. Next, please. Funding, again, nothing, no final things that have come up since our last meeting, but we have been working on part of the idea that I've mentioned with the board in the past of working with nonprofit partners and other community partners as we pursue funding opportunities. We have collaborated with Bike Utah, the nonprofit organization which advances biking and active transportation in Utah, and also Utah Open Lands, the public trust land organization, to pursue an EPA grant. Now, the nice thing about this partnership is we were not eligible by ourselves to pursue it. As a government entity, we could not pursue it. But like Utah and Utah Open Lands as 501c3 nonprofits could pursue it. So if we receive this grant, it'll be about $2 million. Again, we've submitted it fairly recently, and we'll have to see. But this is, I think, a test, a pilot of what it would be like to work with more partners to broaden our reach and our capacity. And my initial report would be that it's gone really well. They've been great partners to work with, and I can only see the benefits of continuing down that path from what we've seen so far. And then for my part, and others may be talking about this, but I wanted to just mention it. We have our Utah Lake Symposium coming up October 21st and 22nd. Hopefully all the board members have received an invitation. This is going to be a great event. Last year, it was a one-day event really focused on a technical audience. So if you were a scientist or somebody working for an agency focused on Utah Lake, it was a great event. If you were anybody else, it probably went over your head. I was there, and like 85% of it went over my head. So great event for those who are very involved technically with the lake. But this year we're expanding it to 2 days. And so on the first day, on the 21st, we will have more of a policy-focused day that will be more accessible to a lay audience without a lot of technical knowledge or background on the lake. And we're honored to have both Congressman Curtis and Owens presenting that day. Burgess Owens will be the breakfast keynote, and then Congressman Curtis for lunch, and a lot of other presenters, great presenters. But this is going to be a really great event. We've got a good response so far already with people RSVPing, and it will be a good venue for us to talk about a number of things. Central to it will be our messaging about the importance of the Nature Center and the Applied Research Fund that will go with it. And I think that's it for me. Is that right? There we go.
Luke, question for you. Is that
Yes.
symposium held at, where is it held?
So it's at UVU in CB 51011, the one that overlooks the lake. Should be good. Other questions? Okay, thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move to item 5.2. This is the Operations and Recreation Report by Sam Breaker.
Thank you, Mayor Lundberg. So a couple of things wanted to update you on today. One is one I've been speaking about the last couple of meetings, which is our Eco Counter project. These are the visitation counters that we're installing at all 28 access points at the lake. So they'll either be pedestrian counters or vehicle counters. So far, 14 of them have been installed. So we've had good progress. They're expected to be completed sometime in October, and we have begun collecting some of the data. So I wanted to just feature a little bit of information for you to help you grasp why we're doing this and the kind of comparisons we can see. So this first slide is just an overview showing the locations in the lake. So this is really high up. So it's showing in the Vineyard region, there are 6 currently. In the Saratoga region, there are 2. And if you zoom in, it narrows into each one. And then on the right side, it demonstrates some of the counting data. This is the data collected at several of the access points since we installed them. So some of these were installed a couple of months ago now, and some of them are just recently installed. And so there will be some difference in the numbers. I'm going to have to check on the Vineyard Beach number. Not that I doubt its popularity, but seeing as it's more than double the next one, we're probably going to have to do a little bit of data tuning on these. We've tried to locate them all in spots that there's hopefully as minimal chance of conflicting data arising from either trail users who aren't necessarily going to the lake. We made sure that where it was placed, it's at an access point, or vegetation, making sure there's not too much vegetation near them, et cetera. So on the next slide, and this is where we have to click on it again if we touch something else. Yes.
You know where your Eagle Park counter is located?
Yes, so the Eagle Park one is actually located on the same signpost that the FFSL access sign is posted, or I should say the partnership sign is posted, which is just outside of the actual grass area where the trail actually leads down to the lake itself.
Down at the bottom of the park, closer to the lake.
Yes. And that's another one. I think that one we might have to check on the grass around it. It was quite long when we were there and we did our best to make it back. But that is another one that might be inflated a little bit because of that. So we'll be working through some of these kinks as we.
Sam, can I also just ask too,
Yeah.
are they just sensing motion and that's how they count?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they do have some things built into the algorithm to try and account for various things. The pedestrian ones are based off of an infrared beam that's shot out. And I think it has a range of like 15 feet, if I remember correctly. And so anything passes through that beam, it counts. It is through software set up to actually identify which direction it's going as well. So it does count in and outs. And I can't remember the number I pulled if this is both in and outs together or just ins on one.
Do they distinguish between people and large wildlife?
No, it wouldn't differentiate for that. So that would be something else we'll have to account for. As far as large wildlife go, correct me if I'm wrong, deer would be our only one we'd have to worry about. Yeah. At Eagle Park itself. Yeah. So we try to place them at a height so that it won't be problematic. I think the minimum height is like 3.5 feet, but we tried to place them all as high as we could. If I remember correctly, I think Eagle Park is more like 4, maybe just over 4 feet high off the ground. So this will be a work in progress trying to refine it, but it is also the first attempt to ever try and quantify what visitation looks like at the lake. So we're grateful to have any kind of data. When you interact. Thank you. So this is just an example of a comparison that we could do. I narrowed down into the 4 vineyard access points, which is Sunset Beach Park, Vineyard 170 South, Vineyard Beach, and Vineyard Center Street. And so this demonstrates from the beginning what visitation looked like at those 4 access points. So these kinds of analyses are something that we'll be able to do and be able to determine which kinds of access points need more improvements or more protection as we move forward in managing the lake. So we're really excited to see the rest of the counters come in and start doing that analysis of the data. Another item I wanted to hit on is our recreation access plan.
On that last chart, are those peaks and valleys, or this is just over a span of what, 60 days, 90 days?
Yeah, I think it started on August 15th, so 30 days.
So safe to say that those peaks are weekends?
I did not dive in that far.
Okay.
Just wanted to demonstrate quickly that we
Yep.
could look across locations, timeframes, be able to do
Very
these kind
good.
of assessments.
Get a real time, go out and collect.
Great question. Most of them are set up to be live and they transmit, I forget what frequency, but they're available same day within a few hours. I think it is at least, if not within an hour. But we did pick out, I think it's 9 or 10 of the 28 to do a remote collection, mostly to keep our costs down. It is more expensive to have the live option, but the way the company is set up, you get all of the software enabling as long as you have 50% or more of your counters enabled with the full package. So we elected to pick several that are not highly trafficked according to our best guess. And then our staff would go out most likely on a quarterly basis and collect that, and it would then dump into this dashboard. Great questions. Were there other questions on that? Okay. The recreation access plan I brought up last time would be soon coming, and it is close upon us. It actually closed yesterday. From what state purchasing told me, we had 4 potential bidders, so I'm hopeful to see that today so we can begin evaluation. On the screen here, you just see the 5 tasks that the consultant will be working on in conjunction with our staff and also in conjunction with a work group that we're putting together for this, as well as some public data will be informing it. So the first task is basically doing an assessment of the current access points, basically determining ownership, amenities, what their quality is, if there's any kinds of concerns or issues, but basically documenting as many as we are. For instance, in conversations around our eco counters, we discovered with DWR, there's actually 2 or 3 other access points that they have on file that we weren't aware of. And so that'll be a part of this discussion, is updating what's considered a public access point and how we quantify those. The next task would then be evaluating the potential future improvements over the next 10 years, trying to determine what kind of amenities need to be brought in, what kinds of conservation efforts need to be done in order to improve recreation at the lake. Third, they'll be working to gather and evaluate stakeholder and public input. This will be primarily in partnership with Zofo Digital, which is Zoe here. We're doing a presentation on the research she's done thus far for us, and she's going to continue in the research supporting this plan. And then obviously they're going to be writing the actual plan, the actual document. There'll be various things that'll be required to be a part of that. And then helping us to develop an annual feedback strategy so that we don't wait 10 years to try and garner public input on what they'd like to see at the lake, but have regular annual opportunities so that we can pivot in order to provide what people are looking for at the lake. Last thing I wanted to done was just a couple of quick highlights of other items we've been working on at the lake. The first one is some interpretive signage on the North Shore parcel owned by Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. This was a partnership that was initiated by Conserve Utah Valley. I wanted to make sure I gave them a shout out, and I was sad I didn't see any of them here. So hopefully some of them are online to hear that. They were really great to work with, very patient as we worked through the process. But Conserve Utah Valley secured a grant through the Audubon Society and then brought in Forestry, Fire, and State Lands and Utah Lake Authority to get 2 signs that you see on the screen there installed along the North Shore property that FFSL owns, where they've put a lot of effort into restoring the vegetation in that area. So one signage educates on the importance of wetlands and why we need to protect them. And then the other sign on the bottom, it's a little bit harder to see, that actually illustrates several of the wildlife that can be found in that area. And that's with pictures actually taken by a local photographer in this area. So a really cool project that just wrapped itself up a couple of weeks ago. Another thing we're working on right now, the board will recall that for over a year now, we've been working to try and secure some kind of mitigation bank or solution proactively as we see projects coming down the pipeline that are in need of mitigation credits. We have been in discussions with the Utah Reclamation, Mitigation, and Conservation Commission, which is the agency that oversees the Provo River Delta project, about some land that they might have available for us to do mitigation work on. So we just hired on Consor Engineering to do a mitigation feasibility study. So this is just the first stage. They're basically doing what's called, if I understand it correctly, an aquatic resource study, where they're determining water in the area. If we would need to secure additional water, or if there is water available, what options we have. And if all looks good on those parcels of land, we would continue investigating if we can prepare to submit for a permit for advanced, forget the word. It's advanced something or other permitting. Basically, we're not requesting mitigation credits because we need them immediately. We're trying to prepare for the future. Something else we've been working on is setting up a Utah Lake Foundation. So this will be a 501c3 organization. This is intended to be a way, again, as Luke mentioned, to broaden the scope of our abilities and qualify for additional funding sources. We registered that with the state last week, and we're drafting our application for 501c3 status right now. Another thing we've been working diligently on is partner relations, and I wanted to make sure I gave a shout out to all of our staff on this. This is something that's a part of all of our job descriptions, and that involves everywhere from doing guest presentations at schools to various committee work and work groups that we participate on, attending conferences and other summits and meetings to be able to connect better with other organizations. Moving to having 5 staff, that's one main benefit, is that there's a lot more availability to be able to connect and find these good partnerships that are crucial in helping us grow the work at the lake. And on that same note, there's been a lot of great work developing our own committees and work groups. Addie's been hard at work getting the vegetation work group in place so they can begin that work. I did want to bring it up as well because our plan is to have the annual meeting of several of the work groups at our Utah Lake Symposium. So the individuals that are on those work groups will get a separate notice explaining, hey, on the whichever day it is at this time, your work group will be meeting to have your annual meeting and discuss your topic at the lake. I believe that was everything, unless there's any questions from the board.
All right, thank you so very much. All right, we'll move on to item 5.3 and have a report by Heather McEwen regarding our events, programs, and sponsorships. Thank you, Heather.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. Okay, so just a couple updates. Okay, I swear, whenever I do this slideshow, it always looks good. And then when it goes in presenter mode, it looks like this. So I apologize, but it's fine. So some of the updates, we just barely, last week we did 2 planting parties, one on Friday, one on Saturday. Friday was with an academy, like a high school group. And then Saturday was for the public. We had about 20+ people there each time. Both were successful, and that was at North Lake Park. Come October 5th, we have another public planting party, but it's mostly partnered with UVU students. We have a great opportunity to work with TSSD to put wetland sod mats on their shoreline, like on their land. So that's gonna be a pretty cool opportunity for the students and for anyone else that wants to join us. And then come late October, that's when we'll plant the trees, because that's probably best for them to when they enter the ground. Also our scavenger hunt went well. We had more teams this year than last year, so that's good. A lot of positive feedback. A lot of people were like, I'm so grateful. I learned so much about the Utah Lake. I had no idea. And they were really good about reaching out to their friends and telling them about it as well. We had over 150 missions. And so the fact that like 46%, so just under 50% of people like completed at least half the missions is really, really great. So lots of great participation. We announced the winners yesterday. It's been really awesome. Also, just kind of reiterating what Luke said, our symposium's coming up. First day is the policy, more for like public audience, for like a lay audience. And then day 2 is technical at UVU with like a light breakfast and lunch as well. There's about 70 people signed up so far. So it's filling up fast. I get like 4 RSVPs a day at least. So if you haven't yet, hurry and sign up. Okay, and then this one's just kind of fun. It's just a bunch of pictures from our scavenger hunt. So then in the middle, there's like our June sucker hats. The whole family did it. They even put one on the dog, if you can see that. I thought that was so cute. The whole family like found stickers. So we hid about 6 stickers around Utah Lake, and they had to go find it and take a picture of when they found the sticker. They love those ones. Some like paddle boarding on the lake. This cat picture is probably a little confusing, but you're supposed to do the shape of the Utah Lake either with your body or someone else. And so this is the shape of the Utah Lake with the cat and his toys. So that's really fun. I thought that was really cute. And then if you guys know like the meme that's going around, someone put very demure, very mindful. And I thought that was very fitting for Utah Lake and that bird. So just kind of fun. Show you pictures about them. And I think that's all I have. So any questions?
I have one quick comment back on your flyer. The Clark building is named after James Clark. He spells his name with an E at the end of Clark.
Oh, good to know. I will update that flyer. Appreciate it. Okay. Anything else? All right.
All right.
Okay.
Our chair, Mayor Kafusi, has arrived, so I will be yielding, conducting the meeting to her.
Or she could keep going. She's doing a wonderful job.
All right, Anna, are you ready to come up to present our communications and outreach report? Thank you.
Is this, oh, it is on. Okay. Like Luke said, the spelling of the Clark building is his fault. not mine. Anyways, I think everyone knows me at this point. This is my third board meeting, I think. But if not, my name's Anna and I'm the outreach coordinator for ULA. And lately we've just been busy. So, we have a new page on our website for our plantings, which is pretty cool because it streamlines the entire process of people like being able to attend these plantings and in an efficient way for us as well. So we have like two options. We have an individual sign up for people who want to come by themselves or with their families. And then we also have a group sign up that will create a new event, and that has to be at least 30 people so that we can justify the time necessary to put on the planting. And then the individual ones will be, excuse me, added on to existing events. So like Heather talked about, we had two this past weekend and we have another one coming up October 5th. So, cool stuff there. And then newsletter, we sent out our first one last quarter. Our awesome intern Marlene put that together. And so the Q3 one is coming soon. We've got some new community outreach, updates on projects like the American Fork Marina. And then launched in July, we've reached about 60 subscribers, which is pretty cool in only 2 months. And upcoming outreach and also, I guess, current outreach, we have name tags now, which is super cute. We have those for when we go do tabling events or anytime we have, I should have worn them at field trips yesterday, but I didn't. I'm going to next week though, just so people can better identify us as the people who know what we're talking about and maybe get to know us a little bit better personally. And so we all have one of those. Why are you looking at me? Okay, sorry, I thought you were, sorry. And then we had our first round of 4th grade field trips for the fall this week on Monday, Tuesday. And here is a picture of Addie talking to some of those 4th graders. The field trips are like one of my favorite things that I do because I get to communicate with so many educators. And then I don't know how many students we have this year because we've had a couple of changes, but like in the spring, we reached 1,400 students and I think we had like over 200 the last couple of days. So that's a lot of kids that were helping understand their ecosystem and change kind of the way they might view Utah Lake. There's a kid who got off the bus yesterday and he went, "Whoa, look at the lake." I'm like, yeah, look at the lake. So those are really awesome. And on the field trip note, we are updating the curriculum. We sent out the RFQ this week and we're going to be working with teachers, mostly 4th grade teachers. They are going to be applying and that's due next Monday. So I know we already have a couple of teachers that have applied and hopefully we'll have a couple more. And an upcoming event that hasn't been mentioned, the Provo River Delta Project opens next month. The grand opening is on the 26th. So we'll be there for that. And that's a project we're super excited about. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more in the next coming month. And I think that's all. Oh. Also, we have I've been working on a lot of designs for stuff. And one of them, we did some mock-up t-shirts and one of them is this one that I hand drew actually.
Nice.
Yeah, it's I've spent a little while on that one. Luke also has a big poster version of it hanging in his office and I'm working on improvements on it right now just to make it a little bit better and then we'll do another order of them. And then this one has a little explore more in the pocket and then the back is a nice little vintage like national parks badge. So these were voted on by the public at our tabling events. We had them put little marbles on the designs they liked the best and these two won with kind of flying colors. So I'm feeling pretty good about that personally.
Good job.
But yeah, so I think that's all. Any questions?
Yes, the newsletter. Is
Oh,
that
yes.
being sent to all of the board?
It will be, yes.
Okay, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Q3 coming soon. Anything else? Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we are on item number 5.4, communications and outreach. Was that?
Anna.
That was Anna. Okay, I was like, wait, that was just Anna. And lovely work, Anna. I was just telling Luke and Sam, I was jogging the trail the other morning with the Utah Lake one. And I'm like, I love the shirt. And then they're like, oh, you're gonna love the new ones coming, Mayor. So I'm excited. So thank you. All right, now we're gonna turn the time over to Addie and she's gonna talk about our conservation and restoration efforts.
All right, well, hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Addie Valdez. I'm a conservation biologist. As many of you know now, I'm actually at my 1.5 year mark in my position, so very exciting. I feel a lot better about it this year, this fall, than I did last year. And to quote everybody else, it has been incredibly busy the last few weeks. This has basically been my life in the last, especially couple weeks. So just to give you guys an update on some of the restoration projects we have going on, to kind of go back to what they were saying about our planting parties, we've had 2 planting parties this fall. We did them back to back last weekend. We were able to get 1,800 plugs in over the weekend, and those were our plugs that we had from this spring. So we were able to get all of those in for the fall. So we were very excited to finally be finished with those, and our greenhouse is empty now. So that's exciting. Plenty of room for the spring. And so we also have 50 trees that we are going to be scheduling events for in October and November. Some of the logistics need to be worked out on that because they are a little bit more logistic heavy. So we are really excited to try to plan kind of this new style event. But again, those will be coming later in October and November, as that is the better time to put trees in here in Utah. And as they mentioned, also Heather and Anna, we have a upcoming sod mat planting in partnership with Timpanogos Special Service District and Blake Wellard, putting in some of his sod mats that he has grown himself. So we are very excited to get our hands on that and try out this new style of planting because we would love to mimic that next year and in the future. So getting an idea of how someone else is doing it is very helpful for that. And then just an update on our Phragmites treatment and our WRI status. This year, we have our monitoring starting at about September 30th with our contractor, which is BioWest out of Logan. They are amazing, and we are thrilled that they're going to be starting that soon. Getting that data and continuing it is going to be very important for monitoring our restoration success, because there's no point in investing all of these dollars if we don't know if it's working. And for treatment wise, we just got done helicopter spraying, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe a week or 2 ago. And we only had less than 2,000 acres of Phragmites to spray. So that is not very much in comparison. That's at about 80% of what we had 10 years ago. So that's a huge reduction. We're really excited about that. Last year we had 4,500 acres to spray and we had to go get extra herbicide to get it all. So we did a really good job about getting it down to a lower number this year and going out and doing tours with other vegetation managers. You can just see the difference on the ground. It's impressive to see how much open land there is and really be able to see how successful our work has been in the last decade. So that's a very positive note. And then now to the bane of my existence of the last few weeks and the next 2 weeks is our pollinator habitat grant. So we are thrilled that we got 15,000 plants awarded to us this year in comparison to 500 last year, if you remember me talking about that at all. So 15,000 is a lot. That is 5,000 more than we purchased this year even. And those have to be put in within 2 weeks of when we pick them up. So we have already put in picked up 5,000. So in the top right, in the bottom left pictures, you can see these 5,000 plants that are being stored at North Lake Park. We were out there on last Thursday till 8 p.m. with Forestry, Fire and State Land employees to just get them moved out there. It takes a lot of work to get these projects moving. It's a lot of logistic lifting, and it's really exciting, but again, it is a challenge to get it set up for it to be successful. So we're
happy that that's done. We're actually going out immediately after this meeting to go pick up the rest in Draper. So that's what I'm doing the next 2 days. And our contractor will begin putting them in at 4 different sites starting on Monday. So that is going to be North Lake Park, the North Shore, just by the Forestry Fire and State Lands parcel, 2 peat mounds in Powell Slough, and then a upland area in Mill Race. So we are very thrilled to have these spread across Utah Lake and be able to kind of share the wealth this year. And that's a big part of what Mindy Wheeler does with this program, is to try to get as many of these plants spread across Utah as we can. And the top left picture is just some volunteers putting in plants this past weekend. You can kind of see the farming style. I like to say that we are just native plant farmers, essentially. So that really helps them with their tactics. In the bottom right, we have some submerged aquatic vegetation, actually, that was coming back naturally on one of the tours that I saw. So it's very exciting to see these pockets of submerged aquatics coming back without us having to do anything. So that's pretty exciting to see. Anyways, the next really big thing that I am looking forward to in the near future is our ARPA dollars. So these dollars are from the Utah Lake Preservation Fund with Division of Water Quality, and they are used for basically helping with nutrient pollution and things like that. So what we are looking forward to using this $1.5 million for is vegetation restoration, conservation, invasive species removals, putting in pilot projects, greenhouses, and so many other things, because all of these projects and these instances of restoring or conserving vegetation are huge to implementing nutrient reduction in Utah Lake. It allows for all that stormwater that's coming off our streets. If it's running through wetlands, that's basically a natural filter. So that's a huge part of what we can do on Utah Lake. So we're very looking forward to getting that started. We're holding an emergency vegetation work group meeting here in the next 2 weeks, I think, to determine what our best uses are. So we're really trying to get as many partners involved in this as we can and host our official vegetation work group meeting on November 6th. And it's really exciting to be able to collaborate with all these people to make sure that we're doing it in the best and most efficient way possible while maximizing our results with this $1.5 million. It's a big deal. And some of these pictures here are pretty funny. The top pictures are all just really excellent species that you can see on Utah Lake. The first one is a Indian paintbrush that is native to Utah Lake shoreline. The next one is actually a Utes lady's tress. So that is an endangered species here in Utah County, and it is highly protected. And we found this out on a parcel that I cannot disclose where it is, but it is amazing to be able to see this out and know that it can still be on Utah Lake without a ton of assistance, and know that it can come back with even more. And the next two are just some other excellent species that are amazing at holding wetlands together and providing that species composition that we're trying to restore. And then the bottom left is Keith Hambrock standing next to a goldenrod that is over 6 feet tall, probably 7 feet. Keith is like 6'1". So it's pretty impressive how tall it is. And on the right is a USU lab manager in front of this amazing parcel that has this basically remnant wetland for Utah Lake that we're going to probably use as an example to try to conserve as best we can in Powell Slough. It's really excellent. It doesn't really look like much in that picture, but when you get on the ground, it's a lot to see. And then moving on to our education and engagement improvements. So our Stormwater Coalition has been making amazing progress. So that's the Utah County Stormwater Coalition. We are starting to form a small work group that's working with Rachel Winder with Department of Agriculture and Food in order to figure out what we want to use this money we have from the Provo River Watershed Council to spread stormwater awareness around Utah County. It's very popular in the Heber Valley, and they have some dollars to be able to use that for Utah County. So we're getting with those managers to figure out what do we want to see, what do water users want to see, and what can they do for their permits. So this is a big part of including stormwater and public works partners into our management plan. And so we're hoping to get some seminars or outreach coming in 2025 after we get it planned this winter. So that's something that I've been kind of talking about in the past, but we're finally kind of getting that progress on it that we've been looking for. Additionally, we have been maintaining a strong partnership with Forestry Fire St. Lands and some of their employees. We've been able to improve our coordination for project management, and I am personally very grateful for it because it helps me a lot be able to interact with other staff that does something similar to me, and our dollars and projects are so intertwined that I think it's very vital to maintain that. So in these couple of these pictures, like the top one where I'm on an airboat, that's on Forestry Fire St. Lands airboat, and it's very fun, very stimulating, but being on an airboat is a great time if you ever can. And then in the bottom right is us distributing those plants I was talking about till 9 p.m. And those are some Forestry Fire St. Lands employees really doing some great work in order to help us out here. So that's been really nice to be able to have that improvement. And then staying in touch with partners is always a big part of my role and my job that I really enjoy. So staying in touch with these people is critical to get things done. So on the top right, I went out with some of the DWR folks who are running the CARP pilot project. That involves some like net trapping. And that was very interesting to see that happen live, not just hear about it, be able to see it happen. And we're not really supposed to share a ton of pictures or information about that because it's a pilot project and we don't want it to get any bad raps or anything like that yet. But it was really cool. I'll just say that. So it is very complicated. And then also I've been connecting a ton with different academics throughout the universities we have in Utah in order to let them know about the nature center that we have that we're pursuing and what kind of needs they would like to see out of it, whether that's facility wise, research fund wise, but just really keeping them involved in the conversation so that they're invested in the idea because they're the people who are going to be using it a lot as well, just besides community. And they've also had a lot of great community ideas too, which is really nice to see. So that was a lot of updates. I've been really busy, but I would love to hear any questions you guys have.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have one.
Oh, go
Chair.
ahead.
Oh, and Addie, your work this summer has been friggin' awesome. I mean, I'm exhausted keeping up with what you just reported on,
I know.
let alone the work that was done. And you may throw the whiteboard eraser at me when I ask this question, but do you have an idea of some of your calendared events for 2025?
So that's what we really plan to actually do here in the upcoming probably month or two is try to get some hard on the schedule so we can put it on our planting application page.
Yeah.
So that people can do group signups ahead of time. So we'll have how the application will work for groups that we figured would kind of funnel groups towards us rather than us having to coordinate it so much. It'll give them available dates, available times, and available places that we'll be able to do plantings at. So that will help you be able to, as a group, find a place in a time that works for you, but also works for us. And knowing that you'll have a guaranteed 30 people makes it very much worth our time. Because again, these logistically take a lot of effort to do. So we're hoping to get those calendared events up here in the next few months. We want to have like a live calendar potentially on that page to keep people updated.
Thank you. I'd like to see our business community coattail onto those existing events that you
for
have
sure.
and get them out of the office and into the wetlands.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's what we were really excited to be able to build this page so people can actively go see what dates are available, like whether it's from a business community or like any, like of the cities that live here, or we send it to universities, anybody who's wanting to help can then.
And Addie, I just wanted to say thanks for the shout out. I think it's the partnership. We've seen this really improve as well. And over the last year, it's been great working with you and the other staff on the authority. It's also really neat to see the Phragmites to like 80% reduction. That's, if you would ask me like, 7 years ago, I don't know that I would have agreed we would have gotten here. So I also want to just invite the board, if you ever want to get out on the lake and see the wetlands, the airboats are a great way to do that. And you can actually get out and do that. And I'd be happy to take you out. We have 2 airboats and we can get probably the bulk of the board out. So if y'all want to arrange that, we'd be happy to do it in waves or get you
Field
out.
trip.
Yeah.
It is very fun.
Sure.
It is very fun. And again, with the Phragmites too, just seeing these pictures, like where we're walking and like the picture I have that's largest on there is like a bald eagle out in Powell Slough. All of that used to be completely covered in Phragmites. So the fact that we're even able to do all this restoration work is a huge milestone. Okay.
I had one question. Talk to me a little bit about the Delta grand opening. Provost worked on this for years and years and years, the partnerships with the federal government and everything. Is someone heading this up? Is there meetings that I should have someone at to make sure that we can be an active participant?
I'm not 100% sure. I think the Utah Reclamation Conservation Commission is the people who are kind of heading up the opening. I know they're doing a partner ribbon cutting on the 25th. So that's definitely something I think you guys should be involved in, sort of thing, if somebody hasn't already heard about that. And the 26th is where it's opening for the public. So they are doing booths. So I think we're having a booth there, and it's any of the other people who have contributed partner-wise or who are kind of just going to be able to capitalize on the Delta project. I am personally very thrilled to be able to go see the opening because I've been out in the Delta for a multitude of reasons, and being able to see the progress it's made over even just the last year is impressive. So I'm excited to see it in its full-fledged and see what the community is going to get to see too. Oh yeah, and the 25th, the ribbon cutting is from 1 to 2 p.m. And then the full public event is Saturday, the 26th from 10 to 2 p.m.
That's really helpful. And the best view of the Delta is when you're up on top of Kive Peak looking down. It is huge.
It's massive.
It is massive.
Yeah.
It doesn't give it justice to be on the ground with it.
Yeah, it does not. So
Yeah, it's amazing.
we're looking forward to attending that. Okay.
Okay,
If
thank
no one has
you.
any more questions, thank you. And this is why I go last, because I take forever. So thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to kind of jump around a little bit because we now have a quorum. We're going to jump back up to item number 4, which is the consent items.
Move to approve consent items as listed on the agenda.
We have a motion. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second.
All right. With the motion and a second on the table, is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Perfect. The motion carries. All right, now we're going to jump.
Mayor, may I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
In this instance where we were nearly not able to form a quorum for the meeting, I was reading in the bylaws, section 6.2, in which it says each member may designate in writing an alternate representative who may attend and vote. Is, according to our bylaws, do we have to have, and it says it can be changed from time to time. So for example, our DWQ person in attendance today, would John Mackey have to have given in writing in advance of this meeting for that substitute to vote today, or how does that work?
I really appreciate you checking that because I was going off of memory. I didn't pull up the bylaws, Mayor, so thank
Okay.
you. In that instance, then yes, Scott Daly could fill in for voting because John Mackey did notify us via email in writing in advance. So yes, so we would technically, I believe that would put us at 9 we currently have present.
Okay, was hoping to get some
Thank you.
clarification on that.
Really appreciate that.
That's helpful. And it's a good reminder for all of us that if something comes up, let's at least try and replace ourselves so that the quorum can carry on.
And then according to the bylaws, it has to be notified in writing for them to be allowed to vote. So,
Yes, and just so the board is aware, currently we only have, I believe, 4 on file, but technically the one doesn't apply anymore since Commissioner Sakovic resigned. So we have Isaac Packman as an alternate for Chair Kafusi, although he can't serve in a chair capacity, he can vote. Jody Garberg in the past, but now Scott Daly for DWQ. And then we have Amber Rasmussen for Vineyard, and then we did have Lisa Shepherd for the county, but we're awaiting a new appointment with
So
Commissioner
so
Sakovic.
can we just submit a blanket one for a backup? Because I know who my backup would be.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can submit it, just an email to Luke would be sufficient.
okay.
Just needs to be in advance of a meeting.
and as Sam mentioned, the bylaws state the alternate may not act as chair or vice chair, but they could vote on our behalf. Okay.
Okay.
And if I could add something real quick, for those that are elected officials, I really like that Amber is here because she is an elected council member. And if you're going to designate, I understand sometimes designating a staff member, but to the extent that you can keep it an elected official, part of the reason why this board was formed was so that the elected officials that are local to Utah Lake have the ability to vote on things, and we want to try to keep it as accountable as possible. And so that's just a, you know, a recommendation. It's not a requirement, but try to, if you can designate to a council member when possible, that would be helpful.
Perfect. Thank you, Representative Brammer. I won't tell Isaac that you said that, but I will make that change. All right. Because we have a quorum, we're also going to jump around a little bit more. So thank you, everybody, for being flexible with us. We are going to go ahead and jump to number 7, the public hearing, discussion and action of the fiscal year 2025 budget amendment. And I will turn the time over to Luke for this one.
You want to?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so we have some budget updates to approve. As I've done in the past, I want to just walk through these at a high level. I'm happy to answer any questions about specifics you may have. But the substance of it is that we have more money that rolled over from last year to this year than we originally anticipated, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I like to say that Utah Lake Authority is the rarest of unicorns, a government startup. And so we operate a little bit differently than most government entities, at least for the foreseeable future. We don't have a budget that's fully fleshed out. We don't have everything locked up into so many staff members, but rather we are, in the midst of developing recreational access plans and putting in eco counters and all these different things. So it is a positive for us that so much of our budget is flexible for now. But nevertheless, we need to account for those funds that are moving over. The 459,000 rolled over from last year. And the logical places to put it, Heather, if you could scroll down a little bit. Thank you. From our perspective, we want to put some of it into salary and wages so that we can hire some part-time staff. We have plans to hire a full-time staff member, but that was already accounted for in the budget, and we'll probably do that towards the end of the calendar year. But this will be to cover some of the part-time roles that I'm not ready to commit as full-time positions just yet. I can use some support in grant writing. Right now, that responsibility falls primarily on me, and it's fine, except for when, as we have right now, we have multiple pretty promising federal grants that are floating out there, and that is a lot of time that has to be committed. So it's more than I can do and also do the rest of my responsibilities in my role. Additionally, we have, along with that, obviously some benefits. And if we go down further, just make sure there we go. Go down further here. We have equipment and operations here. So this is a new category, and it has a few things that we have in mind in here. But most prominent is finally acquiring a boat for the Utah Lake Authority. As you just saw, Addie does a lot of work out on the lake. And for that work, at present, we borrow from FFSL or whoever who can transport her to where she needs to go. Sometimes we get 15,000 plants, maybe somewhat unexpectedly in their timing. And so it's good to have some equipment on hand that allows us to operate and get things where they need to be quickly. So that's a big chunk of what that is, along with some other things around counters, maintenance, et cetera. I feel like this is really echoey. I'm gonna move it right here. It's a little better. Then the other categories, we add some additional funding into outreach and education and events and programs, or excuse me, rather promotion. These are both areas where we've expanded a lot and we hope to continue to expand. As we prepare for the Utah Lake Nature Center to come online, it will be an education hub and it will involve us educating a lot more people than we do currently. And so we might as well start building towards that in the present is the logic there. And then also there are some adjustments on capital projects, and I will let Sam speak to those.
Thanks. One point to clarify with the board real quick, as Heather's pulling up the capital projects tab, the 40,000 Luke was talking about for our operations and maintenance, that's for the ongoing operation of the boat, as well as a variety of other things. These eco counters will have some ongoing costs, the camera network that we have at the lake. So that'll be an ongoing general fund account. The reason I bring that up is in the capital projects, the amendments that we made, one was a slight increase in the transfer from the general fund. We will be gaining interest now on our capital projects because we've now split those into two separate PTIF accounts and bank accounts in order to clean up our process. That was a recommendation from the accounting firm we hired to help us with our bookkeeping and accounting, was to split our two funds. So we'll gain some interest now, and then there is some contract revenue coming into that account from the county tourism taxes, as well as from FFSL to help with that eco counter project. And then if you'll scroll down further to the expenditures, thank you. The access enhancements we increased based upon those projects I mentioned, the eco counter project, and excuse me, there's one other project on there that'll be going into that, and then the equipment and structures purchase is where we'll be allocating for the boat and associated equipment within that. We've allocated more than I believe would be necessary to make sure we're covered, so we wouldn't have to come back for another amendment, but I expect it to be well under that range. But that's the capital projects amendments that we had. Were there any questions from board members on either general fund or capital projects adjustments?
That's it from us.
Okay, thank you. Does it need a vote of any sort? It does to adopt it? Right. So it's an action item, and so I need a motion to approve the amended fiscal year 2025 budget.
Mayor, a point of clarification, is this not a public hearing? Did we need to open a public hearing first before?
Yes, I apologize. I missed that while I was getting this all set up on the computer. So we probably should have a motion to a public hearing first, and then also allow for any public to make any comments specifically on the budget, and then the board could adopt. Thank you, Mayor Lundberg.
All right.
So we'll.
Chair, if I may, okay, I will motion to open a public hearing.
We need a
Second.
Right. With our motion and our second on the table, we are now open for a public hearing and discussion.
Any raised hands or anything on Zoom?
We're not seeing any
So we
in
might have-
here. Are there any online that are raised their hands and would like to comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and discussion portion and bring it back to the board. I am looking for a motion to approve the amended 2025 budget.
I move to approve public hearing item 8.2, action item approve the amended FY 2025 budget.
We have a motion on the table. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and a second, it opens up for discussion to the board. Does the board have any further discussion on our budget? Seeing none, I'm going to call it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? I know, well, I guess that means he approves. We'll count it. All right, the motion carries. Thank you. So now we're going to jump to our guest presentations and recognitions and awards. And this is going to be presented by our market research report, Zoe Forster from Zofo Digital. Welcome, Zoe. And did you ever think that Zoe was going to work for Zofo Digital? I mean, come on with the Z's. That's awesome.
So yes, Zofo, Zoe Forster. So that's my first and last name combined. I made it into my company name.
Love it.
I'm really excited to be here. It's really inspiring to hear all the amazing work that's going into conserving, the resources here. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm a market researcher, and for folks who aren't quite sure what that means, I partner with businesses like Utah Lake to really deliver deep insights through tailored quantitative and qualitative research to help organizations make informed decisions about how to move from point A to point B. And so for this specific project, we were really focused on gaining a comprehensive understanding. I can use this, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. Yes. So this specific project, we were focused on gaining an understanding of perceptions surrounding Utah Lake. So we really wanted to understand why visitors go to the lake, why they don't go to the lake, where are they going instead, how generational attitudes influence some of current state perceptions, right? So family who've lived in Utah for years and years, how does that impact children and, therefore grown-up adults? And so I started out with some discovery work, working with Sam and Luke to just understand some previous surveys, interviews they've done, to understand some initial hypotheses around why we think some people might not like to visit Utah Lake. We then conducted a large-scale survey. That helped inform some foundational work that we then led into stakeholder interviews and focus groups, and that brought us to where we are today, which is the final report. So I'll walk through high level just how many people we reached and how great this effort really was. So I worked from the beginning of June to end of August with the ULA. We engaged over 500 users from 9 different counties through the survey specifically. We spoke with nature enthusiasts, conservation enthusiasts, general community members. So we really tried to reach a diverse group of users here. I then conducted 15 stakeholder interviews and 2 focus groups to really gather sentiment, dig deeper into some of the insights that we gathered from the survey, and also use the focus groups as an opportunity to gather sentiment around some future state opportunities, where we can go from here. We collected over 50 pieces of feedback, including positive sentiments about the lake and concerns. And this led us to 12 strategic opportunities, and which I'll share today. So I'll go through some of the high key learnings, and then I'll dive into some of those opportunities. So learning number 1, people really enjoy visiting Utah Lake for its recreational activities and convenient location. The top activities that people enjoy most are walking, jogging, fishing, picnicking at the lake. These are more popular than water in or on water activities. 30% of users indicated that they primarily visit the lake for walking. So investing in, those shoreline trails, making sure those are accessible to the public. People also love the proximity of the lake to the city. So I think that's an awesome thing to consider when we're moving forward with opportunities. That being said, those who live further away from the lake naturally are less inclined to visit, just not quite aware of what Utah Lake has to offer. Learning number 2, I don't think this will come as a huge surprise to anyone, and I hate to burst some of the bubbles that we've been talking about, but the cleanliness and safety of the water at Utah Lake is the top concern for residents. So 50% of residents said that the water quality is their primary concern, followed by algae blooms and bugs at 44%. I think that throughout the years, news coverage around algae blooms and warnings to avoid the water have really left a deep impression on residents. And so to that point, Utah residents reported a 60% higher satisfaction rate with water cleanliness at their favorite lake. We compared Utah Lake to the sentiment of other lakes such as Lake Powell, Deer Creek, other reservoirs, Bear Lake. And I think it's important to keep in mind that when doing this study, I I think that some folks aren't necessarily aware of the natural ecological patterns at Utah Lake, right? It's a shallow water lake. We can't necessarily control bugs. We can't necessarily control algae bloom. So there's an opportunity to further educate around why that is, and making sure users are aware of that. And a reservoir is not necessarily a lake, so that's, you know, a whole other perception there. Learning number 3, people often listen to stereotypes about the lake without experiencing it firsthand. So I experienced countless interviews and intercept interviews with people at the Utah Lake Festival, at other shorelines as well, that, you know, they came for a specific event, but they hadn't really explored other areas of the lake because they had heard from neighbors or other people in the community that it was dirty or unsafe. Alternatively, some folks were like, wow, I never knew this place existed, which is hard to believe considering that it's huge and it's up against a city. So, you know, there's kind of like that duality there. And then, you know, I spoke to people who are just so passionate about the lake. They often become unofficial ambassadors for the lake and try to like negate those negative stereotypes that are out there and really dispel those myths. So, that's also just amazing to see. Learning number 4, many Utah residents view Utah Lake as ecologically important. So despite these perceptions, they really do value Utah Lake. Users and non-users agree that it's important to protect the lake. So even those who don't go to the lake daily, like the super users that we, you know, become unofficial ambassadors, they do feel that it should be improved, and they value it. So that's, you know, really important as we consider some of the opportunities moving forward. That being said, non-users of Utah Lake are 17% less likely to view it as a valuable natural resource. I think that when you compare it to the Great Salt Lake, which gets more news coverage, it's more well known, they just see that as a greater priority for conservation efforts. Okay. Learning number 5, attitudes toward the lake may be shaped by family history in the area. New families are 14% less favorable of Utah Lake compared to families that arrive in their parents' or grandparents' generation. So these negative stereotypes are clearly passed down from their grandparents to their parents and so forth. And so all of that really comes down to 12 improvement opportunities, right? So I think some of these are already being done, which is incredible, right? I think we already have some wildlife identification signs, which after talking with users, that's a high value item to move forward with and to make sure that we're thinking about where the most strategic access points to put those things. And with the wildlife identification signs, I think there's an opportunity to also educate from the smallest species like those bugs and gnats that everyone sees all the way to the big species and animals that people might encounter, right? Because the bugs are going to be there. So we need to educate people around why they're there. The wetlands are there. There's things that, you know, we can't ignore. There's also an opportunity to show the historical evolution and cultural significance of the lake. A lot of people brought up that in their grandparents' and parents' generation, the lake was really viewed as a dumping ground, and that perception has really carried over. So kind of showing, you know, like if they sat in on this meeting today, they'd be like, oh my God, like the lake is incredible. So how can we tell that story and kind of show the evolution of where the lake was and where it's going? I think another high impact opportunity, which goes along with securing some resources for boats and other equipment, could be a water quality expedition that could even happen on the lake or on the shorelines. Actually bringing folks onto the water, doing hands-on activity with kids, you know, measuring water levels, measuring clarity, showing them that despite, you know, harmful algae blooms, you can still be on the water in some respect, right? There's still other activities that can be done. And I think that, you know, to a lot of the other points that Addie and some other folks here were making, there's a lot of great opportunities. And so how can we educate the public about getting them there and seeing them? So I won't read through all these opportunities, but, you know, it's incredible to see all the work that's being done here. And I want to make sure we tell that story to the public. Does anyone have any questions?
So impressive, and thank you for doing your hard work on this. It's exciting, and at least now we know the story and how to start working towards fixing some of these things. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's amazing to be here.
Right. All right, let's go ahead and move to item 9, which is a closed session. And yes, we do have a closed session, and it is going to fall under D, which is strategy sessions to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, including any form of a water right or water shares. So at this point, I would like a motion to move into a closed session. All right, we have a motion and we need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, it looks like we're gonna leave the dais and we'll move into the room across the hall and go into
Mayor.
our closed session.
If I could add, Mayor, just for those online, Brady and Amber, I'm texting you the Google Meet link so that you can join in that to be able to participate that way. Everybody who's online on Zoom doesn't have to exit the video link.
Perfect. All right, thank you. So we're back in the main room in the closed session. We made a motion to close the session and then a motion to come back into our open session. And so with that, we are basically on item number 10, which is the adjournment. But prior to adjourning, I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. The next ULA board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 9 a.m. right here. And then just as you all know, this meeting may be held in a way that will allow a board member to participate electronically. And the public is invited to participate in all Utah Lake Authority Board public meetings in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Individuals needing special accommodations during this meeting should notify the records officer at least 24 hours prior to the meeting by calling, and I'll say state the number, but they can get it to you as well. 801-753-8270. And with that, I'll,
Mayor.
yes.
Sorry, real quick, housekeeping as well. Luke and I forgot to hand these out to the board earlier, and we'll have them available to the public if they want them. But this is just a two-sided flyer that hits on those legislative strategies that Luke was talking about of building the nature center and securing the funding for the ongoing research fund. That's on the one side. And then on the other side, it has just a summation of some recent wins at the lake. So this is a resource for the board in conversation with legislators and with others as we're trying to seek support for getting those funds approved this coming legislative session.
Those types of things, just from experience, are really helpful to have when you're up at the Capitol or anywhere. I just carry them in my notebook because you never know what's going to come up or what they're going to want to talk about, and you always want to be prepared. So thank you for preparing this. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to dismiss.
Moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks.